Armando-Salguero. He is a columnist with the Miami Herald and has been with us throughout the last several hours to discuss the death of Fidel Castro. Armando, I want to ask you this question, as again, we're seeing these images of people jubilant, people just celebrating on the streets in Little Havana. I want to ask you, what are your feelings and your thoughts, given uncertainty now? So there were improved relations under President Barack Obama with President-elect Donald Trump. He may take a different approach toward Cuba. And with this news now of Castro's death, how do you see these things coming together?
Well, I hate to tell you, but I'm a little bit pessimistic. And I understand what your previous guest said, that Raul Castro will, move one way or the other, but he will not remain at the status quo. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. At the end of the day, Raul Castro is a Castro, and he has been in power for 10 years. It's not like this giant weight has been lifted off of him. He was more than free to dial back or go forward at his whim, basically, for the last 10 years, and he did none of those things. What I believe is going to happen is that they are going to entrench themselves, and they are going to stay the course, and they are going to decide that it's not their move. It's the move of the next incoming American government. Let's not mistake the death of Fidel Castro with a new day in Cuba. The government that has been in power for 10 years is Raul Castro's government. They remain. There's a new government coming into the United States. And so there's where the dynamic may change one way or the other. But remember, even as Barack Obama stretched out his hand to Cuba and opened things up a little bit and so forth with his executive orders, it was often Raul Castro who pushed back and said, well, they're moving toward us. We remain firm where we are. And that's notable because even in the face of friendship from President Obama, the stance of the Cuban government was, we will remain status quo. And I don't know, if you study history, I mean, I guess there are some dictatorships that, bow out gracefully and decide, okay, you have us, we're just going to take a break. We've had a good run. See you later.
But Armando, if I can just pitch in there, what's interesting about the timing of this, if I can put it that way, is that Raul Castro himself is in a position at a juncture where he is preparing his succession. So do you think that this might influence things and his plans for that succession in any way?
I don't know enough about his plans. In fact, I don't think any of us do to speculate with any intelligence as to whether he's going to pick different people, now, or he is going to change or alter the direction of his, next successor. I will say this. My guess, and you're watching, your coverage of the streets of Miami and the folks that are celebrating, and your correspondent in Cuba who is reporting that nothing is going on except perhaps, the rolling of military. Those, that's a contrast. That's a wonderful contrast of freedom and repression. On the one hand, you've got free people doing their will and celebrating whatever they want. On the other hand, I would not be surprised if you see the government deciding there's going to be no movement in this city of Havana. There's going to be no insurgency in the country of Cuba just because Fidel Castro has died.
Armando-Salguero on the phone with us, a columnist with the Miami Herald. Armando, thank you so much for being with us and lending your voice to this breaking news. We'll come back to you if you're able, or if we have time in the coming hours, as we will be covering this for some time. Again, for our viewers around the world and in the United States, the former Cuban leader, Fidel Castro, dead at the age of 90 years old. What you see right here, celebrations in the streets of Little Havana in Miami as people celebrate the news of his death. And as columnist columnist just pointed out, in Cuba, people are just still learning the news. In fact, some just learned it from our correspondent there. CNN will stay on top of this. We'll be back after the break.